You are listening to the Yummy Mummy Podcast, episode number 132.
Welcome to the Yummy Mummy Podcast, where you will learn brand new and shockingly different tools to lose weight for the last time. And now, here's your host, certified life and weight loss coach, Laura Conley.
Hey, Yum Mums, what is up? We have a very special guest here. Oh my God, the intro that I'm about to do is just going to be so good. Yeah, it's going to be amazing. Nicole Sciacca is here. But before I give the intro, I have to tell you guys that if you are not in 4 weeks till 40, my behind the scenes challenge, what are you doing? Go to lauraconley.com/birthday and sign up. It is not too late. We are on day 6 and it is not too late. It's not too late. You can come in on day 20. You can come in on day 6. It doesn't matter. But what we are doing is we're getting fit, fab, and fucking hot for summer and for life. Duh. So come and help me celebrate my 40th birthday and lose weight while you're doing it. So this is not just a behind the scenes challenge. This is also like a challenge for you. So you guys will be applying what I'm teaching. So it's not just like watch me and my cool life. It's like watch me and learn and apply so that you can actually get results. So if you're not signed up, go sign up. You'll get your cheat sheet, your workbook, and you'll know exactly what to do and how to follow along so that you can feel your best ever for summer. And really what I care about is for your life. So without further ado, let's introduce Nicole Sciacca. She is here. You guys, you will not. I know she's getting scared. If you're watching this on YouTube, she's getting nervy. It's not that scary, but Nicole Sciacca and I go way back because she had a studio in LA called Hustle and Flow. And it was my second yoga teaching job ever. And it was the best. I love teaching there. It was so awesome. I have the most fondest memories ever. But I don't know if you know, Nicole, the way that I got connected with you was through Suzanne, who is a Yummy Mummy and who has been on the podcast before. Yes. So she is a Yum Mum alum and a Yum Mum master and has literally been on the podcast. So Suzanne and Nicole are like really good friends. And so this dates us like, I don't know, like 12 years ago or something very long ago. But anyway, Suzanne introduced me to Nicole. Nicole took a chance on me because I was a brand new yoga teacher. And anyways, that's how I know Nicole. But you guys, she is a movement expert. She's written some children's books. Well, book, not plural. And I'm going to let her take it away and do like her proper like bio intro and tell you all the things. But we are here and we are going to talk about agelessness and all the fun things. So Nicole, welcome to the podcast and do an intro for us.
Amazing. What if I had just printed out my bio and I'm like, I am Nicole Sciacca? That would have been classy.
Yeah,
but I didn't
do
think
it.
of that beforehand. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Nicole Sciacca. I'm so happy to be here. I did hire Laura on a whim, but if it's coming from Suzanne, then it's already like a 100+ recommendation. So I wasn't even worried about it. Actually, I remember meeting you and I was like, oh, this is perfect. She fits in just perfectly. I don't even know. I don't remember one thing you said about yoga, but I was like, the girl's energy, her positivity, her outlook on life, she fits in. Give her a time slot.
It's so good. It's so true. I mean, Suzanne has a high bar.
Mm-hmm.
She's got a high bar. So I love those hustle and flow memories.
I know they're good times. But going back to that, yeah, I was a professional dancer for many, many years. I'm originally from Birmingham, Alabama, but I've lived in LA for 21 years. Oh my God.
Crazy.
So danced professionally, did a little acting, got super injured as a dancer, went into yoga, got super injured in yoga, went into mobility. Changed my life. COVID happened, turned everything into a virtual workshop life business and got inspired to write a children's book. So that's just part of the story right there. But that's kind of my vibe. Good. I came up with the idea of agelessness though, because you're just not even 40 yet. What are you, a fetus? How does this happen? You're not even 40.
No, I'm 39 and a half.
Wow. Get excited. 40s are bomb.
Oh my God. I can't wait.
All my 50-year-olds are like, no, you don't know. 50s are great. I'm like, okay, well, I only know what I know, but 40s are amazing. I love the 40s.
I'm so excited, but it's so trippy though. It seems like, because I don't feel, well, this is going to tie into our conversation beautifully, but I do not feel 40. Like, I don't feel like those memes that go around and it's like showing like Steve Martin from like the movies when he was 40 and they they all look like really old people. Like they look like they're like 65, 75. I'm like, I don't feel like that. But yeah, anyways, can you tell us a little bit about, so you guys, before we hit record, we were just chatting a little bit and I'm curious about your story being a dancer, growing up as a professional dancer, and you kind of touched on like maybe it wasn't exactly body dysmorphia, but there was maybe some disordered kind of behaviors or tendencies. Can you just share a little bit about that story and how you came out on the other side?
Yeah, for sure. So I started dancing at 2 and I knew right away that was my thing. Like I was a really great swimmer and my dad was like, well, are you going to swim year round? And I was like, I'm going to put on pink tights and go to ballet class because that's what I'm called to do. And he was like, okay, glad we had that conversation. So like from the get-go, all I wanted to do was dance, which means inevitably that I'm in front of a mirror and I'm in tight clothing. And the dance industry itself is beautiful, but it's also, and it's shifted a lot as everything has, thank God, right? All these systems are changing. The language is changing, the way we perceive things. But I grew up in a time where people could pinch you, or my ballet teacher, not the one that was the most meaningful, but one in particular was like, with your chest this big, it's not likely that you would ever be professional. And she was talking about ballerina. And at that time, I was just so we're clear. I had A cups. And I was like,
oh.
So with my chest this big, I'll never be. Okay, great. So there was already, there was a limitation set around what I needed to look like, whether that was spoken or unspoken. It was kind of just expected. And enter the 90s and enter the Snackwell's cookies and all these like fat-free, you know what I'm talking about. Like it was just that was the culture and that's what you grew up in. So thankfully, I had really, really brilliant and loving and aware parents. And we didn't allow that kind of behavior to persist in my house. Like we ate healthy food. My mom was always walking and running and there was exercise and it was just what you did. It was lifestyle. It was the lifestyle. It was a healthy lifestyle. So I wasn't preoccupied with food as much, but I was obsessed with parts of myself that would never change. Right. Like I had muscular shoulders, like I'm broad shouldered. And I was tall, right? So I was really tall early on. And all these things that are not changeable were the things that I was frustrated with and frustrated by. I had big feet and I was like, look at my feet. They're so big. And my mom's like, wow, I don't think most, you know what I mean? So it was this, not body dysmorphia, but an obsession over things that were not an issue. They were not an issue.
Yeah, that just society or dance culture told you were an issue or weren't like good enough.
Right.
Because it's so interesting, like being in tight clothes and in front of mirrors in and of itself is not actually bad. It's the messaging that we got. Like I think about like my daughter, like if my daughter were in tight clothes in front of a mirror, like every day after school for hours and hours, she'd probably be into it because there wouldn't be any negative messaging around it. It's all about like the conditioning that we got. And then like we're taught really to scrutinize. Oh my God. And that just leaves, I mean, I think we all got it in some way, shape or form.
Yeah.
Like, and it's impossible to not. And I think my mom was similar to your mom, it sounds like, in terms of she's very much before her time in terms of like teaching healthy habits and negating all that. But like, I still got it. Like, I still got like, okay, this is good and this is bad. Like, you got to be skinnier here and more toned here and da, 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 da. And if you're not, then that's like bad. It's not even like your shoulders are bad. It's like you are bad. It's like it goes into your identity, which I think is where it gets so, I mean, it's toxic on the surface level, but then it's so toxic when it becomes a part of your identity and like how you show up. So
it was about my worthiness. And I knew that my gift from God was a creative and a dancer and express like an entertainer. I knew that from day one, like I could feel it. There was no question about that for me. The problem I had was that I wasn't fitting into the molds of what I saw everyone else doing, right? Like I was exceptionally tall, again, these broad shoulders. So it was me trying to make sure, and my parents, again, thank God for them, but they were supportive of the fact that I was worthy no matter what. And so I was getting that message, whether they were speaking those words specifically, or if it was just the tone in my house, thank God. But at least that was getting some airtime. You know what I mean? In these ears. So when I got out to LA and then I realized, I have a whole community of 5'8" and up. Like all my best friends are 5'8" and up because we would get bookend on jobs because we would either look alike or we were the same height or we had the same like body, whatever. If you see me and my girlfriends walk in, we're all literally this tall. We all have the same color hair, like the same coloring. It's bizarre because we would all do jobs together. And that's how I met these people.
Oh my God.
But then you find your people. You're like, oh, okay. So there is a place for me.
Yeah.
I was worthy all along. It's not about that. It just.
Yeah. So how did you like heal that? How did you untangle that? Like, how do you like show up in the world as your awesome self without the concern of whatever, the shoulders or the height or the thing? Did it just take care of itself, do you think? Because like there was other people?
It's that and. So it took care of itself with maturity and age and more experience, right? Seeing other people. I grew up in Birmingham. It was small. Birmingham's not that small, but it was a smaller community. When I got to LA, I'm like, oh my God, I'm short compared to these Rockettes.
Yeah.
Like, didn't know that. It's just, you only know what you know. And so being able to expand your worldview is huge. I think that's another important factor. And I was going to LA from the time I was like 15 on. So I would go every summer and I would start to get a grasp on, there's other dancers that look way different than me who are working, who are successful, who are amazing. And I can appreciate that. So I know that there's a place for me.
Love that.
However, that and my injury, like I fucking, can I cuss on here?
Oh no, you can't cuss on here. This is a G-rated show. What do you fucking think, Nicole? Oh my God, I know my poor listeners. They're like, oh, my kid's in the car and now they're making fun of me because they want to get fit, fab, and fucking hot. Like I have this one client that like reached out to me and she's like, oh my God, like I'm doing 4 weeks to 40 and so are my 8-year-old twins. I'm like, okay, great. Let's all get healthy together. Yeah. It's
my God.
But yes, you can swear on here.
Okay. My point was I injured my back really severely, which is what got me into yoga initially, but it changed the trajectory of my dance career, which changed my entire identity. Because I was on bed rest for a month. I had no idea who I was. I didn't know if I was going to dance again. And I didn't. I never danced the way I did after the back injury because there was a level of fear. And also my body didn't move the same. It just didn't.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of unpacking there, but that month of bed rest, I worked with a hypnotherapist. I worked with a network spinal analysis lady who did like energy work through gateways in my spine. And I was just going all in on stuff. And I was like 24 at the time.
Wow, that's cool.
So it helped me. I think all of that helped me unpack that. I knew the worthiness was there no matter what, but losing the identity of you're an exceptional dancer. This is your future. That was a whole nother beast.
Oh God. Yeah. That's so scary. But I love your point about, and I want to talk more about like 8 different things you just said, but I love your point about like expanding your worldview because I think that we can, I don't know, just not feel so alone or like there's a lot out there. I don't teach necessarily like body positivity in terms of like the body positivity movement. Of course, I teach body positivity. I teach, as you guys know, self-love, body love, the way my body looks love. But what I think is like really helpful that is a common teaching out of the body positivity movement specifically is like, make sure you're following people like on Instagram, like the people that you see on a day-to-day basis. Like, can you curate that? Like, that's what you're speaking to. You're like, oh, I went to LA and there were tall people, right? And that dance, like it was amazing. It's like, we have to counteract what we're seeing day in and day out, which is tiny people, teeny people that are made up of whatever the advertising industry thinks is like good and right. And it's like, we are lucky that we have access to curate our Instagram feeds or whatever. But like, it just made me think of, hey, you guys, make sure you're not just seeing one type of person. Go find people that look like you, because that will just help on a subconscious level of you feeling, I don't know, beautiful or at least not shitty. Okay. Talk to us a little bit about how you got into this concept of agelessness and like what that even is in the first place.
Yeah. So I have what I've now diagnosed as a childlike spirit, because that's the best way I can explain it. Like sometimes I look around and my son, who's now 10, who's also fucking 5'7", and he's 10, looks at me and he's like, please stop dancing. Please stop dancing. And I was like, son, this is who I am. And you haven't even seen the half of it. It's only getting worse for you because I am alive and I will move my body however I want. And I will be funny and I will make these faces. Point is, I've always had childlike spirit, even now that I'm a mother. I don't know how they let me be a mother, but somebody did. So I'm embracing it and it is what it is. That is a secret. Every single person is still childlike on the inside, no matter how much conditioning, no matter how much corporate speak you've learned, no how many Q1 and Q4, we're going to turn in these dick ducks. I just learned what Q1 was like in the last 3 years because I've never had a corporate job. I'm sure you're not surprised.
So good.
However you want to frame that, you're still a child on the inside, the child that deserves the attention and the love and the care that it may or may not have gotten. You're still able to make those amends now. Like you can put yourself in programs and whatnot to take care of your inner child, to love your inner child. But when it comes to like the work you do, Laura, which is so valuable, being able to recognize yourself as worthy of love is the end all be all. That and mental health. The thing that I love about being ageless is that if you consider that you're just source energy, that you are a spirit and a physical body, then that means that you can move this physical body if you have the blessing and the privilege to do so. And you should, because everything calibrates when you move your body. Your immune system, your metabolism, your thinking, your clarity, your cardiovascular fitness, your organs love it. Like there is no part of you that is left behind when you're moving. Not to mention you get out of your own way. So you let go of, oh, I'm 40, I shouldn't move like this. Oh, I'm 50, I shouldn't be able to like move my hips like this, or whatever the conditioned language is around movement. You are ageless. You are a spirit. You are energy. You can do whatever the fuck you want. That's how I view agelessness. So when you take care of yourself, then you will welcome that more often. You'll be like, yeah, I can jump off this cliff in Costa Rica because whatever. I move my body. It's healthy. I can do that.
I mean, I sort of like, do you guys just want her to repeat that again? Because I was like in awe of like, I was literally like hanging on every single word that you're saying. Like, it's so good. It's so true. And I think that's why I've been so connected to movement for so long, because it like makes me feel like myself, which is a kid. I mean, I think that's why you and I like get along and Nicole and I, we like each other. Like, but you're kind of like a kindred spirit in that, like, I have that same sort of diagnosis. Although I think maybe we should change the word diagnosis. I don't know if you're open to that. Here I am. I was like, come on my podcast. I'll coach you. Because doesn't a diagnosis mean like something's wrong with you? Anyways, I mean, it could.
Could be.
Could. Anyways, I have the same childlike nature that's not like, a big aha for those of you listening. But okay, so the agelessness is all about just connecting to that, connecting to what is already there.
Correct.
Okay.
But the reason I use that within my work is because I teach yoga and mobility and meditation and strength. So these are 4 modalities that I think are crucial for the mobility is the foundation. I know we spoke before we hit record about the fitness industry being backward. And what I really mean by that is, let's say a pandemic happens and you sit on your couch for 2 years and you consume more calories than you're accustomed to and you walk less steps. And then you decide, okay, everything's good. We're going to move forward now. I'm going to go back to the gym and start doing exactly what I did 2 years ago. And your joints say, no, you're not. Here's a hurt knee. Here's an achy back. Good luck getting up tomorrow. That's not working. The fitness industry itself is about aesthetics. And that's jacked up. We really missed the mark there. What it should be about is joint health. How well do your joints move? And then once you know how well your joints move, you can be like, oh, my hips are strong. My back is strong. My ankles move well. I think I'm going to do squats today. Versus I'm just going to go in there, do squats with 20 pounds on my back because that's what I did 3 years ago when I was on track team or whatever. Point being, it's upside down. So I like to look at the body first through the lens of how well do my joints work? How well do they move? When we tackle that, then you can move into strength training or yoga and you can start to build upon healthy joint tissue versus just doing something because it's what you've done for 20 years or it's what you heard is going to get you sculpted or whatever the language is. So within that, I find agelessness to be about healthy joints because your joints dictate movement prior to muscle tissue firing, which is bananas.
Okay. And so the way to agelessness, the way to like being childlike or the way to play is through movement.
Correct.
Okay. But you have to be able to move. So you have to be able to like take care of your joints. So how do we do that?
Correct. Cars. I talk
that?
about them all the time.
What is it?
Cars are controlled articular rotations where you move so you have 10 joints that move rotationally and you move each one individually through its safest, greatest, pain-free range of motion. When you do that, you will have an assessment over how well does my wrist work, for instance. If your wrist is super shitty and you can't move it one way or the other, then why would you go and load your entire body weight on it doing planks and burpees and up dogs and handstands? And then that goes into your elbow and you wonder why your elbow hurts. And that goes into your shoulder. You wonder why your shoulder is out of alignment. Then your neck is all jacked up because it's a kink in the chain. The entire body is an ecosystem that speaks to one another, which speaks to agelessness. When each one of these joints is doing their job and is optimal, then you feel fucking great. You feel awesome. You feel like a child. But when you're the old version of you that is lethargic or that has kind of bypassed steps to get to the sculpting outcome that you think that this fitness modality is going to offer you, then you wind up injured and then in more pain. And then it's just like you're backpedaling. So that's why I look at the cars, these controlled articular rotations, as the flossing of your joints, the veggies of movement. They're literally, they have all the nutrients and all of the foundation you need to build a healthy house, which is you. You're the house.
Amazing. Okay. So do your clients like want to be ageless? Like, do they want to be childlike? Or some people like, I don't want to be childlike. Like some of us are so conditioned to be like serious. And I mean, I'm sure your clients are not like this. You and I both probably self-select. There's probably nobody out there that is actually listening to us that is like, I'm sure I've repelled everybody who's out there who's like serious is like, but I do wonder about that. Like, do people want to be childlike? Or maybe they call it something different.
I'm going to be real transparent and say I've never asked them that. I have no idea if they want to be childlike. But I feel you're drawn to people that mirror something about you, typically, whether it's something that you need to learn or something that you inspire to be like whatever it is. Lessons can be interpreted any which way. I know that the women that are in my like monthly strength training groups are curious, they're seekers. They all, and this is my favorite part because I make everyone dance at the end. Like we do a 3-minute dance off after every single class. And I mean, it's out of control. It's stupid. Like I bring in a trampoline, I'm jumping, we're doing dumb shit. And they all in the beginning are like, what is the purpose of this? And I said, you'll see. And sure enough, by the end of the month, people are like, I went to a wedding and I like got on the dance floor and I was never the first person to get on the dance floor. But finally, it was so conditioned. We do it 4 times a week. Like we just jump around. And I'm like, yeah, because you're remembering who you are in that process. You're not this. You didn't come here for this.
Yeah. Well, so why did we forget? Like what happened to all of us?
I mean, you want to go down that rabbit hole. I love a good conspiracy. I'd say, well, that's the Industrial Revolution coming in and then making us go to work and then training children to go to school so they could be good employees. But that's just me. We don't want to go there.
Yeah, it's like, when did we get unchildlike? Because I'm in total agreement with you. Like, this is who we are and who we've always been. And it's just a remembering and like a kind of like yoga, right? It's just like a taking off. It's not like we have to add anything, right? It's like, no, it's already right there. It's just a matter of accessing it and like giving ourselves permission to like access it or want to access it because I think it's again, it goes back to conditioning. Like we have to be serious and we have to like be responsible and
supposedly. No, I mean, great, cool. You can be those things, but I just know that my spirit didn't come here, earthside, to be buttoned up and to be responsible at all costs. I want to go on adventures. I want to learn new stuff. I want to find out that I put my foot in my mouth and then have to unlearn something and be better for it and experience life that way. Because to me, it's like perfectionism. That's going to let you down every single time. Jason Bateman, who I adore, he's like my favorite actor. He said at one time that perfect is boring. It's not interesting. And I said, praise be, because that's exactly, I couldn't put words around it, but that's exactly it. I would rather die than just be boring and perfect. To me, that's a control issue that doesn't serve you in the long run. It literally eats you alive on the way. When you get to be yourself, when you get to screw up, you're not worried about what it looks like. You're just like, oh, okay, yeah, well, that didn't fly. Let's try something else. Like,
yeah, I mean, I think that's like a synonym right there. Is like just letting your inner like child fly or whatever is just you being you. It's really not like I never really identify with like the phrase inner child. I don't know why, because maybe it's because mine's always like outward. Like she's not in there. She's not in there somewhere. She's here, right here.
She's right here.
She's outward. She's not inward. I have an outward child, not an inner child. But I think to your point, it's like, and to answer this question that we're kind of exploring, it's like, if you aren't being yourself or you aren't letting your inner child out or you're not playing, it's just because you're scared. It's just because like, and that's really what perfectionism like is, to your point. Like, we're just scared that, I don't know, what are we scared of? I mean, I could answer that.
Letting people down.
Yeah.
I think so much of that is unconscious too, because I think that's groundwork that was laid either by your folks, unfortunately, or your examples, your coaches, whatever. That is just, you just never get there. You know what I mean? No. I don't know one perfectionist that's like, I made it. We're perfect. It's all happened. We can, then what? Then what do? Your entire castle crumbles at that point.
Well, it actually does. The ones I do know, the castle has crumbled.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I've watched it happen. It's like, it's so, I mean, it's like heartbreaking, actually.
Heartbreaking.
Like,
is
there's
a good
another way. There's like another way. Oh, I love this conversation. Okay. So if people are scared, I love it. It's like, if people are a little bit scared to like let their inner child out, then they should maybe just come and work on their joints a little bit.
Yeah, you could start with that.
I feel like that's kind of like easy access. Like,
it is. That's a great point, Laura. I never thought of it like that. But this goes back to, are you embodied? That's one of my my memberships on my website are infinite and embodied, because those two things are, I love those two words.
Me too.
If you are embodied, then you know what to expect out of your body. You are not surprised when your wrist doesn't want to extend. You're like, oh yeah, no, I know that because I've explored that, right? So the joint, the CARS routine, when you're doing those rotations, you have a daily check-in. It's inventory. It's literally like, oh, my shoulder's a little cranky today, so that's good. I'm gonna keep an eye on that. And then 2 days from now, it feels great. And you have a playbook for yourself. To me, when you have the playbook and you trust your body, you trust how it feels, you're familiar with it, there aren't surprises. Now, I will say, I mean, one time, you know, Katie Horowitz?
Yeah.
I was at her wedding and I may or may not have had so much tequila. And I subluxed my hip and it like popped out of the socket on the dance floor.
What was the move? What was like the dance?
Oh, you want to see it?
Yeah. You guys, we're on. Okay. We're on YouTube. Okay.
This is the move. I was literally just
doing that's this. The move. Oh, I kept waiting for something good. It's not.
No, nothing good. My hip went like literally popped out. Like, I'm not sure because I'm not a doctor. Don't forget, I'm not a doctor, but I'm pretty sure my greater trochanter like subluxed and popped back in because I've never experienced that kind of pain in my life. It's still like messed up to this day. At that time, I had started the mobility work and I had found stuff that I wasn't pleased with, right? Like my ankles were jacked up. I had no control over my toes partly because of my wearing shoes all the time, but also partly because I had neuropathy in my right foot from my messed up back injuries. So there were parts of me that were not connected. They were not, I like to use the word awake. So my toes were not awake. My hips were not awake because of yoga. Once I started putting the neural connectivity into that joint tissue with very specific mobility training, everything started to get better. I was not aware that my hips were lax, is a good word. They were just, I had extreme ranges of motion. You might have remembered that. So, but that doesn't mean that I have control over that range. I didn't have control over any of that. So the fact that my hip popped out, that makes sense. I wasn't actively trying to strengthen it.
Yeah.
I was just unaware.
Yeah. So interesting. Okay.
It is interesting.
So it's kind of like the body is the way in to like you being you or us being
Yes,
us
yes,
or like
yes,
the liberation, really.
yes, yes. That's how I feel.
Mm,
So
I
the
just love
movement
that.
is the prerequisite. I just want to approach movement differently than go do this class, go run the stairs in Culver City, go lift all this weight, go to 47 Pure Barre classes. And you know what I mean?
Yeah. So what
I
happens?
want
So what happens if we do it the correct way, the Nicole Sciacca way? What happens when we do it your way and we're and my way too? When we do it from the desire. So I just had a podcast on like the difference between a diet brain and like a yummy mummy mind, like diet mentality and like a healthy, clean mindset around your body, really.
Yeah.
And so we're speaking the same language. So Nicole, what do we get when we go in the correct way, when we approach fitness and our bodies and movement in the correct way? Like, because I think, and I just want you to speak to this, I think that if we go in from a place of like, I just want to feel like myself. I want to feel at home in my body. I want to feel like good in my skin. I want to feel ageless. I want to feel playful. And when that's the motivation, when that's the why, then I think the byproduct is so much better than if we go in like, I got to get my bicep to pop, or I got to get like a 4-pack or whatever. It's like, it's backwards, but you end up getting what you always wanted. And my guess is it's way more sustainable and permanent. So if you could just speak to that, I would love to hear it, because I know so many people are just grinding it out, trying, forcing, and they're not getting what they want on either side with their body, with their health, and with the way their body looks. So,
Right. You are, like I mentioned, you're infinite energy in a suit of meat, and it's beautiful. The thing is, when you listen, this is kind of goes into my children's book. When you listen to your intuition, when you are embodied, when you are inside and you recognize this works, that needs a little assistance, this feels good, that doesn't feel good, then you can make better decisions all the way around. Not to mention, every cell in your body is listening to you. Every cell. I talk to my water. I can send you some weird ass podcasts and research on this. I talk to my water every day, and I say, thank you so much for keeping me healthy. Thank you so much for bringing abundance into my life. Thank you for keeping me clean from the inside out. Thank you for the energy and the clarity and the joy and the gratitude. And I talk to it all the time. All the time. Every time I drink water, I talk to it. And I talk to my body that same way. Like when I'm going up steps, I'm like, I can feel my thighs working. That's so fucking awesome. I'm like, look how strong my legs are. There's a constant narrative, a loop of conversation that is going on within my body that supports its optimal health. I don't know how else to put it. I just see it as a freaking miracle. Like it really is a miracle you're here. All these trillions of cells had to get together and do all their right shit so that you would come out with your blonde hair and your blue eyes, or your dark skin and your whatever, your big feet and your broad shoulders. All the things had to go right for that to happen. And then we just dismiss it from here on out. We're like, oh, this body, oh, this, da, 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 da. It's just the wrong way to approach it. So when there's a conversation of, oh, my wrist is doing better, I can see there's an improvement there. Or, oh, I am hydrating. Oh, I'm getting good sleep. Oh, I'm eating clean food. My body responds to that well. It's a conversation that takes you all the way to the finish line. Like you will enjoy every day so much more on a deeper level when you're speaking to yourself like that. And you don't even have to believe it in the beginning. That's the crazy part. You don't have to believe it, but the saying of it creates a rhythm, creates a pattern, creates a mantra. And then before you know it, you're like, oh my God, I do feel my thighs are working when I go up the stairs. I do feel grateful that they can get me up the steps. Like it becomes a transition. It morphs into what it needs to be.
Well, how did you create that for yourself? Because I think that most people are walking around and they are talking to themselves, but the loop is negative and it's subconscious too. It's like a very dull whisper, like, oh, this hurts. Like, oh, I feel gross. I'm so fat. Like, or whatever. I mean, that's, I'm just speaking from experience. Like, how did you change the soundtrack or the radio station or whatever? Like, how did you get so purposeful with the way that you speak to yourself?
That back injury changed me. I had never not been able to move freely until that back injury. And then when I was in the bed for a month, thinking about who I was, what it felt like to be healthy, and then to be in that predicament where I crawled to the bathroom. Like I had a dipshit of a roommate at the time, Kenny. Sorry, Kenny. I hope you never listen to this, Kenny, but you're a special boy.
Kenny.
Never like offered to help. I would crawl to the bathroom because I couldn't walk. My appreciation for my physicality and for the health of my body it was like a dark night of the soul. Like I went there.
Mm-hmm.
And then from that point forward, I was like, as long as I'm not in that position, as long as I'm able to move, there's gratitude around that. I've seen what it's like to not be able to move. So we get really comfortable and we forget when you're in a lot of pain, you'll do anything to have your health back. You'll do anything to go for a walk.
Yeah.
Like it's just remembering that. And it's not,
well, what's so funny is like your methodology is all around like, okay, the way in is through the body. And like those listeners know that I love movement. Like let's not be unclear here. But what I teach is our thoughts create our results. Like I teach it over and over and over and over again. Like I beat it like a dead horse. Like literally, are we allowed to say that? I'm like, I get so scared on this pod. Like back to your point, like I'm going to have to be willing to say things on the podcast. And then I'm like, shit, I feel like lots of expressions you can't say, or, there's like a list. And so I'm trying to be better, but it goes back to your point of being a perfectionist or being scared, right? It's like, if you and I are going to, if I'm going to help 1 million moms lose weight for the last time and be free from food forever, and you're going to help 1 million people be ageless or whatever your goal is, right? Like we are going to have to be scared or we're going to have to be scared and do it anyways, or say things and then like put our foot in the mouth. Anyway, that was just a perfect example of what you were talking about before. So to circle back to like, what radio station are all y'all listening to inside of your brains? And if some of you guys are probably like, I don't even know, you'll know by the way that you feel in your body. If you're walking around and you feel like, and that's why it's like, it's not one or the other. It's not like change is through the mind or the body. It's both. Like you have to have both on board. But if you feel like kind of low vibration or like disappointment or shame or guilt or just kind of gross or like meh, it's probably because you're talking to yourself like shit.
Yeah.
So,
and those are beliefs, right? People.
Yeah. 100%.
You can only go so far. If your belief is, I really am broken. I really am. I don't know what people say to themselves. I'm really a worthless piece of sausage. Then on repeat, that's what you say over and over again. You can't change until that's addressed. Nothing's changing.
Yeah.
You can do 100 million classes, do 100 million weight loss programs, unless it's yours and you're actually looking at the thought pattern, you're looking at the channel.
Yeah, that's all we do.
Nothing.
Yeah. Not all we do. That is what we do. Yeah. Because it's so mindset based and especially with like weight loss or fitness or people with their experience in their bodies, it's like so much of diet drama is rooted in like, it doesn't work. I am broken. There really must be something wrong with me. I am a special unicorn, which is just so heartbreaking, but it's just not true. Like, it's just not true. It's like you actually are not a special unicorn. I mean, you are a special unicorn. Like you're amazing in all your ways, you people out there, but you're not a special unicorn in the fact that like, you're not broken. Like you can feel the way that you want to feel in your body. I have a question. How do you know if you talk a lot about embodiment? Like, how do you know if you're embodied? Like, how do you know if you are or not?
You already answered that question. It's completely about how you feel. When I had that back injury and I was on bed rest, I did not recognize myself because I was in so much pain and the fear of what does the future hold? I don't know how to come out of this. Like, how many different specialists am I going to need to see? Like, the orthopedic that I saw at the time was like, this will for sure happen to you again, which I will never forget. As a physician, if there's any physicians listening, hopefully you're more in tune than this man. But he was like, you have the spine of a 55-year-old man and this will happen again. And I said, that's amazing. Don't ever say that again to any of your patients. Because I still hear it, not in a way that I'm threatened by it, but as a reminder of like, your words matter. He said one sentence to me in his office. And it just was like, I have to do this. Is going to happen again. You're the expert, right?
Well, and I think, that goes back to what we were just talking about. Your thoughts become your results. And if 100%. You adopt other people's thoughts and you believe them, then you're fucked. You're totally fucked. Yeah. Just bring it right home, Nicole.
That's it. And then end the episode because that was it. That was it. She just said it. That was it.
Okay. Well, we
That's
have
all
to.
of it.
No, we're not ending. Okay. So you're embodied by the way that you feel in your body.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, good. Because I was wondering if I was embodied or not, but I am.
I know you are.
I'm also infinite. I'm also infinite too. Okay. So Nicole, can we talk a little bit about your amazing book? You guys, I have it on YouTube. It's like, okay, my kids are like obsessed with this book, by the way. So cute. I must have done something.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Okay. So her book, you have to go buy it. It's called Yoked. You can get it on wherever they sell books or
Amazon, Barnes and Noble.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about the message behind this book and why it's so important that our kids get this message?
I'm just going to put it out there, but this was a bedtime story that I told Bo, my son, 3 years ago. So in the midst of COVID times, he got on a kick and he's like, I'm going to need you to make up stories at bedtime. And I said,
motherfucker, I
are you out of your tits? I said, do you see the 400 books that we've bought here?
My kids too. I mean, you're
Make
amazing.
it up.
Yeah.
I said, how dare
I want a made up one. I'm like, I went down the street to the store. It's like, what? It's so much pressure. It's so hard.
It's so wrong. So one night I tell him that literally I'm making up as I go. It's about an egg. There was once this egg and he was like, whatever. Everyone was worried about him. Well, okay. Just to not give it away, the story, I'll just tell you the moral of the story. The moral of the story is this egg is born and his parents are so worried about him. They view him as fragile. So they dress themselves in bubble wrap to keep him safe. Now he's the only egg in bubble wrap because obviously, why would you dress an egg in bubble wrap? But bubble wrap's funny and kids love bubble wrap. So I was like, keep him safe. He's going to stay safe. But the problem is this particular egg has a voice. He's embodied. He listens to his intuition. He doesn't feel fragile and he has questions. So he asks his parents, why did you do this? And they say, well, because when I was your age, I cracked and yolk came out and it was so terrifying. And we don't ever want that to happen to you. And he's like, cool. So he goes to sleep and he's like, here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to try like one small little change a day and just see what happens. So every day for the next week, he's like trying an activity. He goes down the slide. He tries skateboarding. He goes into his backyard to explore on his own. By the end of the week, half the bubbles have fallen off of him. So he's like half wrapped. And he goes to see his Uncle Scrambles at the ranch. Uncle Scrambles is literally scrambled eggs. But he's also kind of like a hip hop breakdancing bodybuilder. So Uncle Scrambles is like, well, if you're trying new things, you might as well breakdance. And then he's like, obviously that sounds dangerous. Breaking.
Yeah.
So he tries it and he falls and he cracks. And then you find out that he's actually hard boiled. So the message is, and my mom even asked me this. She was like, was he hard boiled all along? Did he become hard boiled? And I said, I'm never answering that because I want the reader to interpret it the way they need to. Like maybe he was hard boiled from the beginning and he knew that about himself, or maybe he took chances and he boiled up the courage to become hard boiled because
it gives me the chills. It's so good. I love it. Oh, it's so good. Okay. So the parents, they cracked and some of the yolk came out. And
the mom did.
The mom. Okay. So the mom had some yolk come out. And what is that a metaphor for? What does the yolk represent?
Well, I think it represents her fear, right? Like you don't know. Or maybe you do. Maybe you came out of the womb and you're like, I'm a badass bitch. Or maybe you came out of the womb and you're like, I don't know. I'm just a robin egg. Like, I don't know what I'm made of. So you go through life taking chances, doing things, getting in relationships, trying jobs. You're exploring to figure out who you are along the way. Some people absolutely know that constitution is there and it is what it is. Other people get courage as they grow. But I think when it comes to the parents, they're just doing what they know, right?
Yeah,
her experience was terrifying. So she went to take care of her kid the only way she knew how.
Yeah.
Because she knew what she knew. And that was what she...
Well, and it's such a great point too, because it's like biologically our job is to protect our children, right? So it makes perfect sense. She wasn't doing anything wrong or bad. She was just doing what she thought was
out of
best.
love.
Yeah, out of love. Oh, it's so good, Nicole.
Oh,
yeah, and it goes back to the perfectionism too, right? It's like that yolk seeped out, and it's like we have to be willing to let our yolk show.
Yeah. Oh God.
Oh, it's so
Yes.
good.
You have to be willing to let your yolk show. This is great for merch. I'm going to go wild with this. Let your yolk
I want
show.
credit. I want credit for that t-shirt.
You get
Okay.
it.
Okay, so how do we know how to get the book. How do we get the book, you guys? Because, and a lot of people know who listen to this podcast that like, it's so funny because we have just such kind of like twin flame missions here. So Nicole, tell us where we can find your embodied program and your infinite program.
Sure.
And like a little bit about them and like, just tell us all the things. Give us the plug.
Okay. Here's the plug. I had created a virtual home for mobility and fitness and agelessness at sweatandstillness.com. There are live weekly classes that you can drop into. There's hundreds of recorded classes on mobility, yoga, meditation, strength. So you can pick and choose as you like. The embodied membership is only on demand. So you could do hundreds of classes that are all on demand. You can do them whatever you like. The infinite membership is an all-in package where you get access to all the live classes, all the recorded content, all the audio meditations, and the monthly group that I hold. So I hold a one-off every month, which can change, right? So people might come in for May and then not show up for June and then come back in July, whatever suits you. But that's the program that I love the most and where I'm seeing people really have huge transformations because we go Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and it's 35 minutes a day. So you can maybe join.
What time is it?
6:30 in the morning.
I'm like specifically exactly tell me. Okay,
6:30 a.m. PST.
Okay.
35 minutes. So you're done by 7:05. So hopefully by that time your kids wake up and you can take them to school and do whatever you need to do, but you're having your you time before the day begins. And you're also dancing like a banshee. Can we say that? Can I say that?
Oh my God.
Can I say dancing like a banshee?
See, I don't know. I don't
even know what a banshee is.
I don't either. I know. Oh,
dancing like.
Yeah, because there's so many expressions that we say and we don't even know what like the words in them mean sometimes. So anyways, for my podcast for right now, until somebody, that's sort of how I'm operating, the same as you, is like, I'll just have to ask for forgiveness because I know my intentions are clean.
My intentions are clean too. Dancing like a childlike self version of you.
Dancing like a hard-boiled egg.
Dancing like a hard-boiled egg.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Sweatandstillness.com. And then what about like your Instagram? Like how do we find you on there?
Nicole Sciacca, SCIACCA. Not like it sounds. And then on TikTok, I love TikTok. The Nicole Sciacca on TikTok.
Ooh, so good. Oh my God. Okay. Anything that you need to tell the audience before we get off? Any like little takeaways or anything that you feel like we have to share before we end?
Just you're worthy. Just remember that you're worthy. I think that could go for like 95% of the population.
Yeah.
We've forgotten that. You're worthy of a program like this. You're worthy of feeling good in your body. You're worthy of trying new things. You're worthy of the job, the raise, everything, the love. You're worthy of it. You deserve it.
It's so good. It's so true. Oh, I love that. I know. If we could all just know that, that would probably eliminate, like, we probably wouldn't have jobs. But seriously, just one note on the worthiness. I was listening to this woman, Catherine Zenkina, and she was talking about some of her teachers and shamans and how worthiness isn't a concept in their world. Like, it's not a thing that's up for debate. It's not even like, it just is. And I'm like, oh, and it is just is. And I'm like, and that's what I say. It's not up for debate. It's infinite. You came worthy. You still, like, what, at age 7.5, did you like become unworthy, or, you know, like, when did it stop? And I just think it's cool that it's not even a concept. It's not even a thing, because it just is in her world. And so I just think that's kind of a neat way to look at it, because you don't even have to talk yourself into it. You don't even have to prove it. It just is.
No, it just is.
So good. Yeah. And okay, this is a whole nother podcast. Okay, we're ending. That is that. I hope you guys all have the best week ever. Nicole, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I'm so appreciative. It was so fun, of course.
It was so fun.
Because we're basically just kids.
Just kids.
Okay, bye, you guys. Have the best weekend or week. Have the best week. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao, ciao.
Hey, if you've enjoyed listening to this podcast, I would love it if you leave a rate, review, and a subscribe on whatever you're listening to this podcast in. Pretty pleased with the cherry on top. It would help me so much, and it would help all the other mamas out there hear this message. Thank you in advance. I really appreciate it. And you have to come check out the Yummy Mummy experience. It's my proven lose weight for the last time group coaching and course. Head to lauraconley.com and just click work with me. Other than that, you guys, I would love to give you a free gift. If you want your free listener only gift, go to lauraconley.com/gift. And from there, you will get your free best ever weight loss hack. So cool. The last thing I want to tell you, you guys, is I do have a free Facebook group. It's called, you guessed it, the Yummy Mummy. Lose weight for the last time, end body drama, and get food freedom. You can just search that in Facebook, or again, you can head to the show notes and you'll find the link there. All right, you guys, have the best day ever.